Joe Rogan speaks on Khamzat Chimaev future fights. Khamzat's last fight was on October 30th of 2021. Ever since then, fans from all across the world have been looking forward to his return to the octagon, especially after his late great octagon interview with Daniel Cormier. At the end of the interview, Khamzat passionately screams, "I'm here to smash everybody," after being asked who he sees as a future opponent. For today's video, we'll be discussing Khamzat Chimaev's future fights in the UFC. Stay tuned until the very end of this video to find out who his next opponent is. Before we jump into this video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and comment keyword SMASH to enter our brand new iPhone 13 giveaway. Khamzat Chimaev has recently caught the interest of lots of fans from all across the world. His confidence and savageness gives off a Khabib Nurmagomedov vibe, and I have a feeling Joe Rogan likes it. Joe had a lot to say about Khamzat on his podcast, and he might have accidentally revealed Khamzat's next opponent. On October 30th, 2021, Khamzat Chimaev accomplished his 10th win in the UFC. His record now stands at 10-0. Although he's had a few easy competitors, it's now time for him to step up to the next level and take on some bigger names. Joe Rogan was chatting with a friend on his podcast. When the subject of Khamzat's next fight came up, Joe seemed to get super excited. It's obvious that Joe Rogan is a fan of the savage Khamzat Chimaev and is excited to see his next fight. Khamzat Chimaev's next fight has not yet been publicized, but according to Joe Rogan's conversation, it sounds like he knows something that we don't. During Joe's chats, he revealed that Khamzat Chimaev vs. Nick Diaz might be a possibility. Joe, being a fan of both guys, makes it clear that there is no underdog and it would be a very interesting fight. Khamzat claims he will smash anybody that Dana puts in front of him, but we must admit Nick Diaz is a very tough competitor. As Joe Rogan said himself, if every fight went to 100 rounds, Nate would never lose. Although Khamzat is clearly a savage in the octagon, Nate Diaz is nearly impossible to take out. His stamina and ability to get hit and keep moving forward is off the charts. That would be Khamzat's biggest challenge yet. Joe Rogan continues discussing this matchup as a future fight, then thinks to himself, maybe this wouldn't be the best matchup for Khamzat. He then gets into the conversation about Leon Edwards being a possible competitor. Leon had just recently beat Nick Diaz on June 12, 2021, but some still might think differently about that fight. At the end of the match, Leon Edwards was deemed the winner, and most fans in the arena weren't happy with this decision. The fight took place in Phoenix, Arizona. Nick Diaz had most of the support coming from the people in the stands. He even had many celebrities show up rooting for him and expecting him to win. Celebrities such as Justin Bieber and the Nelk Boys showed up in support of Nate and ended up partying with him after the fight in celebration of what they believed was a bogus loss. So the question stands, who is the better opponent for Khamzat Chimaev? Is it Nick Diaz or Leon Edwards? Most people might wonder, which one of these guys would Khamzat prefer to fight? The true answer is anybody. He came here for everybody, like he said. Khamzat isn't afraid of anybody and is ready to take on anyone Dana puts in front of him, just like he claimed. Khamzat has a strong background in dealing with tough challenges. He comes from a small town in Russia. As a young man, his hometown was in the middle of a war zone, and he was faced with a very tough challenge. He had two choices, either run away from the war and move to a different country, or join the military and fight for his life. Khamzat obviously made the decision of running away from this war. After achieving getting his visa, he finally left Russia and traveled to his current home, which is Sweden. Khamzat made a name for himself and started fighting professionally. He was living in poverty and doing his best to make a living and train every day. Khamzat made a name for himself and started fighting professionally. He was living in poverty and doing his best to make a living and train every day. Putting in the hard work, Khamzat Chimaev accomplished a huge goal and finally began fighting in the UFC. Khamzat entered the octagon with the mindset of a champion and still has the mindset of a champion. Although he may be a little ignorant sometimes, claiming he will be better than the late great Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, I truly do believe this is the ego that can make him an actual champion in the UFC. Considering Khamzat's last fight was only a month ago from the time this video was made, it may be some time before we see the man himself back in the octagon in front of thousands of people. We end this topic with two possible opponents for Khamzat's next fight, Nick Diaz or Leon Edwards. It is very likely that one of these two guys will be in the octagon with Khamzat Chimaev very soon. Coming directly from a very reliable source, the man himself, Joe Rogan, We shall stay tuned and look forward to Khamzat Chimaev returning to the octagon. For future information about the UFC and Khamzat Chimaev, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell.